Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Novio podcast. We are virtual, okay? But we are excited because although we are virtual, it's still live, it's still lit, and I still have some of your favorite content creators, hustlers, go getters, and some of your favorite people on the internet here with me for season 5. And I still want to give a huge shout out to the studio I was with, Mastermind Media. If you are a podcaster or just in general need a space to record, definitely hit them up. Once I get this bread back up, I definitely want to be back in a studio. But I also love the flexibility of being virtual because one, I get to connect with lovely guests, people that also don't live in LA, because there's a lot of really dope people that surprisingly do not live in LA. There's creatives all over the world. Okay. So being virtual, I think, is also super important. But I just wanted to give you guys like a quick update. If you have been tuning in to season 5 of the podcast, we are live on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. And then you can keep up with us on our socials, Novio Podcasts on all socials. We're trying to stay a little bit more consistent with TikTok. TikTok is hard to crack, but this is a perfect time because I want to be in a healthy relationship with TikTok. And that leads me to my special guest who really is advocating for healthy relationships, some real love, advice, some tough love that I think we all need to hear because the weather is getting hot. I think it was like 90 degrees outside, and a lot of people are going to be outside dating, putting themselves out there. So, everyone, welcome my special guest, Hotline Fab.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. It's nice to be here with you, Carmen.
Thank you. So, not a lot of people know that I actually met you about 2 or 3 years ago at a special event called Dopamine, and you were one of the moderators.
Yes.
Can you let me know a little bit how you got into this world of love, relationships, catering to the young folk and all folk, because we all want to be booed up, and also if we want to be single, that's cool too. Let us know.
Yeah, no, being single is great. There's nothing wrong with being single. I personally really enjoyed my single years. I don't think I ever spent a time where I'm like desperate to be in a relationship. I know that's not many of my clients per se,
Mhm.
but yeah, so being single is great. Enjoy it while you have it, because trust me, that time will come when you will be in a relationship. You'll find that special person, and they will be days where you'll be missing those single days.
Right?
Yes. Um, but let's see. Well, so how did I get into it? I mean, I so growing up, I always thought I wanted to be a doctor. And when I got to college and actually started studying to be a doctor, I was like, this is not for me. Like, I was just so not built for that. And I kind of just kept like going through school, not knowing what was up and down. And I finally discovered psychology.
Mm.
Yeah, and honestly, it was so I didn't even think of myself in a career in psychology. It was more that I just enjoyed it. And the last quarter of my last year of school, you have to do an internship, field study to graduate. And so I did a marriage counseling internship.
Oh, wow.
And
That's a
let
tough
me tell you,
topic.
I know. I'm just saying
You
though,
better have passed. I know you passed.
of course I passed. I
Yeah, you
was there like
passed.
early. I was there setting up chairs. I was like, passing out paperwork. I was all about it. And it was a group, it was a nonprofit. So it was group group counseling.
Mhm.
But I have to tell you, Carmen, like that was the first time I ever saw healthy relationships. Like, obviously these were couples that were going through hard times, but I saw how they would come in and their relationship was in shambles. Like, they were mad at each other, they weren't talking to each other, they're sitting on opposite sides of the room, they would get into arguments like mid class.
Mhm.
Okay, especially if the topic was something sensitive to them. So what was crazy was that over the course of the weeks, after learning communication skills and whatnot, their relationship would improve, and you could see it happening. Like, you could see them like starting to like sit with each other, or like hold hands, or like instead of arguing, they would actually talk to each other. They'd laugh with each other. It was like it was like magic.
It's like
You know,
communication actually works.
I know,
It works,
imagine
y'all.
that, I know. I mean, it sounds wild to say because I know when I'm mad, like, we all get mad, right?
Oh, yeah,
You have a
definitely.
boyfriend, right?
I do.
Congrats. Okay, but you know how you feel when you get mad at your boyfriend?
No, I do, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I
it's
know
like
I
there
know
is
that feeling.
sometimes you just I'll speak for myself. I feel like there is nothing in the world this man could say to me that is gonna make me not be mad at him right now, or there
Mhm.
is nothing I wanna talk to him about. So it's like logically, I know that communication will solve the problem, but emotionally, I'm like, I can't see a way out of this.
Yeah.
And so, being in that marriage counseling experience, it really was like magic because you see it, like, it happens right before your eyes. These relationships that don't like these people that don't like each other all of a sudden learn to like each other again, like, and I'm talking like they went through like cheating, like,
Mm.
you know some of these people weren't even married, so they're like, living at their mom's house, and they have two kids, they're unmarried, they have baby daddy, and like mother-in-law breathing down, like, just like complicated relationships, and you still see them work it out. I'm like, oh, it's possible,
Yeah. Did you
you
see
know?
yourself as, like, a healer? Kind of like you are curious and, like, the psychology of relationships, but also, like, "Whoa, like, maybe this is my calling in terms of, like, healing people with advice, counseling, relationships with self."
I don't think at that time I saw it as healing.
Mhm.
um I real talk here, I think when it happened, I think I thought to myself, maybe if my parents had had communication skills, that they maybe
Mm.
would have stayed together.
Yeah.
I mean, I now know later in life that, okay, they just weren't meant for each other, like, they got divorced when I was really young. So I think in my head, I was like, oh, like, relationship skills, that's just what everyone needs, because if everyone has it, then there's no divorces, and then kids don't have to go through divorces and going, to one parent's house and then another parent's house. And like, in my mind, it was the solve to broken homes.
Yeah. Oh, I totally get that.
Yeah.
I also come from well, I come from a single parent household. My parents were
Hmm.
never married, but, like, relationships come in different shapes, sizes, like marriage, non-marriage,
Yeah.
traditional kids, like, blended families, so I totally understand.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that's really what it was for me deep down inside. But I think there must have been more to it, right? I think I must have just really, well, I'll speak for the way I see it now. Now, I think what intrigues me still about relationships is it feels like a puzzle.
Mhm.
Like, someone can be upset about one thing, another person can be upset about another thing. They think they're upset about the same thing, but they're like talking past each other and they're not really understanding each other. Like, for me, that's where I feel like those skills really come into handy, because as an outside person, if I'm seeing a couple, you can pinpoint what is not being communicated properly, or you can pinpoint what's not being understood, or and once you start to break it down, it really is just like a puzzle to get the couple back together, because over
Mhm.
time, the couple, if you start getting into so many arguments and fights and you don't actually truly meet resolution. And what I mean by resolution is each person uh, committing to making a change so that this doesn't keep happening. So much stuff will get like packed into the relationship, and it draws a wedge between them, right? And so it requires more, like, unpacking. I hate to use that word, but, like, unpacking, so that
Yeah, you're, like, trying to dig out.
yeah, you're trying to take all the stuff out of the middle so that the couple can, like, slowly get back together, but the taking the stuff out is like a puzzle.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
I completely agree. And also, like, Hotline Fab is certified, for a lot of people,
You know it.
especially in the new age, like, there's so many people that can give advice. And I'm
Mm,
100% like free speech, do all that. But you are certified, you do have
mhm.
clients, you do have some schooling and background on this. So let me like know how you make something that is a valid science into Hotline Fab on social media because I like the way that you explain a lot of these
Yeah.
topics that, are psychology based, there are
Mhm.
legit terms. And I feel like now we even have some of the terminology because during COVID and stuff, I was like, ooh, I think I was gaslit. I
Yeah.
think I experienced gaslighting. I think I went through
Yeah.
breadcrumbing, so like all
Yeah.
these terms that I didn't even know what they were until later.
Mhm.
How do you make this science like easy for the rest of us, that don't have that schooling?
I mean, I feel like I need it for me, I
Mhm,
need it to be simple. Also, I just think it's more effective if it's
mhm,
broken down into, just simpler topics. Like I I guess especially when I'm making content, I try to think as though I'm talking to a friend. Sometimes that doesn't always come through, it's a constant improvement, but I try to think about it in a way that's going to make sense to a normal person versus trying to explain concepts. So it's less about telling you about what gaslighting means and more about saying, well, when you told him how it felt, how did it
mm,
feel when you heard his response?
mhm,
Oh, I didn't feel, I felt bad. I felt sad. It felt like he didn't understand me. It made me mad that he didn't even say that that he understood what I was talking about. Like it's really trying to get to how the gaslighting affects you
right.
rather than what it is.
Yeah,
I don't know
and
if that makes sense.
no, perfect. And I love too the way that your videos are so like concrete and also very fun. Cause you do bring out these articles or you do these green screens. And there was one specifically that you were talking about. Let me read it. It was basically you are a reflection of your relationships. And
Mm,
if something in your relationships, maybe friendship, relationship, romantic, is something that you don't like, you have the power to change that.
mm,
Or like a mirror, relationships oftentimes are mirrors. And
mhm,
I
mhm.
100% agree with that. I feel like for a lot of us, we are in these situationships. Again, another term that I feel like we didn't even know what that was, right? Until like recently, we now have a term to call
Mhm.
like all these flings that we've been having. So like, how do you put this tough love, advice out there? And then how's the response been from people? Have some people be like, oh my gosh, I feel like seen from you, or like, are you coming for me?
Yeah, that's usually the response I get. Are you coming for me? And I'm trying to think of the video that you just referenced, and I don't quite remember which one you're talking about. But
Mhm.
there are speaking to the mirror thing. It's I think if I have this right, there's either two ways that it could be, right? It's like the thing you don't like in a person is also the thing you have in yourself.
Yeah, you said you attract what you
Oh,
are.
you attract what you are. Yes,
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 that was the video that I was
yes.
like, oh my gosh,
Okay.
I felt seen there. I was like, "Ah."
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm working with a client now, and
Mhm,
this person is a hard worker, like just bought a house, has an amazing job, like a high up, like really wants a long-term committed relationship. Like this person is ready for it, ready for marriage, ready
mhm,
for kids, but yet they keep messing around with a person who is not that, who does not want that. Like
mhm.
literally like always tries to break up with them every other week. Okay, but then gets sad when like this person, my client, is like, oh, okay, fine, it's over. And then they come running back,
Right.
and part of what you attract what you are is, even though my client, this person, says that they are ready for marriage and a relationship and all of that, they still keep entertaining this person. No matter how
Mhm.
frustrating it is, no matter how annoying, how mad it makes them, they still keep entertaining it, which is why they keep attracting it.
Right. We have choices.
You have
We really
choices.
do have choices.
You do, and it's hard because you're like, "Well, there's no one else there right now, so I might as well just keep seeing this person." And it's like,
Mhm.
"Well, no, universe, God, whatever, they're not gonna give you what you want if the space is filled up with this other thing. You gotta say no to that, and you gotta be okay with nothing, and that's when the right thing comes in because there's space for it."
Yes.
That's the way I see it, but anyway, you
You're
are
like,
what you attract.
"Truth." Truth.
You are what you attract.
I'm like, "Where's my horn?"
Yeah, yeah. Brum, brum,
Yeah.
brum.
I
Yeah.
agree 1,000% because I mean for a little context, like, and I have shared it on the pod before. This is my first real relationship,
Mhm.
real, and I all the other relationships were real as well, but this is my first one with an official title where there's,
Mm.
I have commitment now. I can't be just, doing whatever I want, da da da. So there's more work to be put
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
So I think that's what people they don't maybe see it right away. You start
Mhm.
envisioning like, oh, I want to get married. I like the idea of having a partner. And then when they are in that situation, they're like, "Oh, shoot, I actually have to put in some work." It's not as cute as it is on Instagram, like all these
Never.
couples, like
I know. Honestly, when I see couples that are too cute online, I'm like, "Oh,
yeah.
y'all are fake." I know that's mean. That's mean. I'm just passing judgment. But I'm like,
No, I agree, and I love too the fact because we're not gonna, exclude, people in their single era.
no.
We are gonna talk about everyone, and I
Yeah.
100% agree, the single era. Definitely have it. Have it, take your
Mhm.
time, explore, have fun. What tips would you give people who are in their single era and summer's coming up? I'm gonna
Mm.
say spring is here, but I'm not sure because the rain is
I
acting up.
know.
Like,
Looking back, um, sorry, there's a dog
oh no,
outside.
no,
Oh,
you're good.
the window's cracked. Shit. Okay. Anyway, um, so tips that I would give single people. I guess it's in order for me to give tips, I have to know what their goal is.
Mhm.
Right? Because for single people, their goal could be I just want to hook up with as many people as I can, or I don't want to hook up with anyone. I just want to meet a lot of people. Or another
Mhm.
single person's goal might be, I'm ready to commit. I want to find that person during summer. So who would you say are like, or what are single people mostly after, you think, this summer?
Let's go with the people that wanna meet others, like, generally network, put themselves
Mhm.
out there, and then maybe for the fall, they wanna see what's
Okay.
up. Yeah.
Okay. Um, my tips, I mean, what worked for me, and it may not work for everyone, but my tips are definitely say yes to everything. Like, that Jim
Mm.
Carrey movie, The Yes Man, or whatever that movie?
Yes.
Yeah, like that. Like, you say yes. Like, I know you might not want to. I know you might feel lazy. I know it might be hot and there's no air conditioning. And I know you might have just worked a long ass day and you don't want to move. Like, just go.
Right.
Just go, and you will likely meet someone. It may not be the person you end up with, but the point is to meet people. That's another one of my tips that I just give people in general. I'm like, focus on meeting people and less on meeting the one. Because you
Mm.
never know. Like, Carmen, I could have met you at this event 2 years ago, and I'm not trying to date you necessarily, right? But
Right.
you might have a older brother who is also single and wants to find someone. You're like, what? I just met this dope girl. You just
Yeah.
never, ever, ever know. And I always try to say, like, stay open, stay aware, be present, because it's not about meeting the person right off the cusp. It's just about meeting people, and like the universe will do the work for you.
That is so true. When I met you 2 years ago, I loved that the event was really about intuitive connection. Like, I remember
Mhm.
being asked, like, "Are you looking for friendship? Are you looking to actually, like, be open to dating?" I forgot what the other one was, but it was also, I wanna say, along the lines of, like, networking or connection.
Mhm.
And I actually ended up meeting my friend Mika at that event, so I didn't even walk out with a boo, I walked out with a
Oh,
friend.
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like, you never know, like, a lot of us, go into the dating, like, "I need to connect right away,"
Mhm.
and sometimes maybe the universe is like, "Oh, you know what? Like, right now, I'm gonna bless you with some friends, a
Yeah.
solid friend group for you to, like, explore with, go out, and then from
Mhm.
there, you never know, you might connect with some cuties outside."
Of course. No, I 100% agree. Um, Sorry, give me 1 second. My
Oh,
boyfriend's texting me about moving the car. Um, yes, you can move my car. Yes, of course, babes. Um,
communication, you see?
I know. Can just take mine back. Yes, communication. Oh, another thing I wanted to say, I know this doesn't have to do about single people, but it has to do about being honest
Mm-hmm.
and about being a coach. And it was actually the last video that I posted, and it was um, about if you want to date a toxic person, you also have to be toxic.
I did see that one.
Okay,
I'm like, not the toxicas out.
I know. I'm just saying, even the toxicas need love. You
Right. No,
know?
they do. They do.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring that up because it really there's something about being there's being a relationship and advice guru, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
someone who like just gives advice, and then there's being a coach, right?
Right.
And the way that I define each thing is I mean, well, I define myself as being a coach and I work for my client, okay, first
Mm-hmm.
and foremost. And how love usually works is we don't go out there in the world like with this clarity being like, I want a relationship, I want someone who values me and loves me and wants to be with me, and that's all I'm going to accept, right? We just don't go into the world with that clarity. The way it
Mm-hmm.
usually goes is we step out in the world, we see a hot person we like, and then we fall in love.
Right. And then you figure it out when you're
And
in the midst of
and
everything.
then you try to figure it out, okay? And I feel like that's where a coach comes in, because if I'm over here being like, nah, that toxica is not good for you, how am I any different than your friends and family? We all can see it,
Right. Yeah.
right?
We all tell them
We
too.
all
Like,
tell
hey,
them.
you
Exactly.
got to let it go. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. So I think what makes me different from,
Mm-hmm.
friends and family is that I say, okay, you want the toxica? Let's go get her. But you're gonna have to do some things that you may not want to do.
Right. The boundary part, the what is acceptable to you and all of that.
Yeah, and you might have to be a different version of yourself than you want to be because you want to be with this person. Do you want to do that? Half the time, not half, most of the time they'll say yes. They'll want to do
Mhm.
it because they want the person.
Oh,
But
definitely.
the beautiful thing about this is, and I told my boyfriend this the other day because he was like, I don't understand why you're telling people to be toxic. Anyway, I was like, the beautiful thing, the beautiful thing about this is you hold their hand through it, right? So
Mhm.
they're going to go through heartbreak. You know this, but that's also inevitable in life. Okay.
Yeah.
So at least they have me while they're doing it because they're going to go after that person with or without me. You think they're going to listen to me over their friends and family? Not really. They're going to do whatever they want. So the benefit is I say, okay, this is how we go get them. Then you do the things. It with a toxica, it never works out, right? Because eventually you even
Yeah.
make it sick of it. They get bored or they get sick of it or you get tired of being toxic. So it always ends up, it doesn't work out. And the benefit is that all the things that all the things that I, shared with them or tried to teach them throughout that process, it clicks at
Yeah.
the end. And then they don't do it again. And then
Mhm.
they're on the right path anyway, you know? And it wasn't because I told them what to do. It's because they chose for themselves what they wanted to do. And I just guided them through their journey. And they're gonna end up where they end up. Usually and it's a
No.
good place.
No,
Mhm.
yeah, hopefully. It's always been meeting people where they're at in life
Yeah.
too, because I feel like the change always comes from within.
Yeah.
Like I'm guilty of being in a situationship prior that lasted 2 years, and it took
Mm,
some time for me to be like, okay, no more contact. I
yeah.
did the no
Yeah.
contact thing because that was literally the only way that I could do it, and it worked for me. But I know
Mhm.
for different people, there's different ways that they are like, okay, you know what, I'm done. I'm done with
Mhm.
this cycle, these things that I keep repeating. So if you're listening, we have faith in you. You can also, check out Hotline Fab and her services if you need some extra support.
If you
But
wanna go get that toxic, I'm here for you.
right, yeah. I wanted to ask you too, like, being in this world of like dating and relationship advice, there's a lot of trends that come about. I know
Mm.
you had mentioned some before in your videos about astrology, like people are more
Mm.
observant, or they're more like, oh, I need to know your chart.
Yeah.
There's some people too, the whole age gap. A lot of people that
Mm.
are in their early 20s are dating older because it seems to
Mhm.
be like, if you're 23 and you're dating another 23-year-old, for some reason, for some, there are some very mature 23-year-olds, but for
Mhm.
others, they're still exploring, doing their thing. Have there been other trends that you've seen that you're like, ooh, maybe let's keep it out for 2024, or some things that you predict in the dating and relationship
Mm.
world?
Trends. I don't want to say up to date on trends. When I do trends videos, I have to literally Google trends
Yeah.
because I don't know the trends. Um, but I'm trying to think of like what I've seen for this year. I mean, have you seen any?
What I've seen a lot is I've seen a lot for the age gap. I've seen a lot for the age gap.
Yeah. Oh, I just think it's interesting that that age gap is a trend because to me that's not really a trend. That's just how it's always been.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's getting more views right now, more eyes on it, but I mean, age gap has always been a thing where, younger women date older men. And the reason being older men are more established. They
Mhm.
are more calm, they're more focused on family, like honestly, they just have less testosterone running through their body, so they're not trying to fuck everything that moves, So it's like they're more prone to having like long-term committed relationships. And
Mhm.
that's just how it's always been. I think if anything, age gap would be less of a thing nowadays because more women are financially independent and don't rely on men and don't really need them for that. And also women are just as scandalous as men are nowadays. So
Right.
yeah, so I would say that maybe that's not even really a thing, but if it is a trend, then I guess, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, Let's get it going. You got this."
Yeah, I'm trying to think of okay, outside of trends, like what I foresee for this year is actually something that I've heard a lot from my clients is they don't want to meet people online. Like they're so over it.
Oh.
And I don't know if that's just a this year thing or whether it started last year, but people are just super over it. Like no one wants to do that.
I have seen, I don't know if it's a trend, but I've seen
Yeah.
like a boom of a lot of like singles parties. And not in
Mhm.
the traditional like speed dating. I've seen a lot of people start these organizations on Instagram or like meetups, singles meetups.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
That seems to be a thing where people are getting tired of the apps and things like that. Um, I think just have a healthy balance. Or what do you think? I like a balance of both.
I'm honestly probably a terrible person to talk about online dating because I've never done online dating.
You've never done it?
I've never done it.
Oh, trust me, you're not missing out on that.
That's what everyone says. So then I just never felt the need to,
Mhm.
and I what else? I just think that people are super over. I think you know what it is that people don't find real connections online. So that's why I think people are starting to move away from it. Now, going future into trends, what I worry is that people are not going to know how to connect with each other in person at all.
Mm.
Like, do you know how many times I'm like walking on the street? Like, and if it's like a busy street, like I'm in New York or I'm like on Melrose or something, like, okay, I'm not trying to say hi to every person I pass. But if I'm
Right.
like walking in a residential area and there's a person walking their dog, like sometimes I'll try to say hi. Oh, I'll say hi and I scare them or they just like stare at me. Or, like they don't know, like people don't know how to just engage with strangers. It's super weird. I noticed that during the pandemic. I mean, obviously, we're all like going through a moment, so fine.
Right,
But
yeah.
like, okay, we're out of it now. Like people go out. Like it's I wonder, I mean, I'm a little bit older, so I wonder if people like in their 20s are having more trouble with that or like what's the experience? I don't know. I don't know this for a fact. I just think that communication is going to be mostly through text and less through phone and less in person. And I worry about what kinds of relationships that's going to form.
Oh, definitely. The TikTok age. I get
Yeah.
so much communication on TikTok from people that don't even live here. You know what
Oh,
I mean? But I'm like a pen pal and I'm talking to these people. So, yeah, no, it's a little crazy out there. But I wanted to ask you too, like, what do you see yourself evolving in Hotline Fab in the next year or two? Things that maybe we can look out for, or projects that you would like to explore.
yeah. So currently, what I'm working on is I have my How to Not Suck at Dating course, which is for, I'm going to say it's been for men and women, but I think I actually am going to gear it more towards women coming in the future, just so I can tailor all the stories and everything towards women. But so I have my How to Not Suck at Dating course. It's for career oriented, driven single women who
Mhm.
are ready to find the one, ready to get married, ready to have kids, and are not having luck in relationships. That is who this course is for. And what I'm currently doing is, instead of doing like my one-on-one hours, I'm putting it on an online platform so that people can go on and take the course at their own time, at their own pace, and they don't have to do it, once a week with me. They can just do it whenever they want. And just also have it be cheaper and more accessible to people. So that's what I'm currently working on. I'm just super excited because I'm excited to push it, honestly, because I love talking about it. And I feel like I haven't done as much talking about it because it's never felt quite ready. But
Yeah, it's like your baby, like a
yeah,
project. Yeah.
I know. Not that it's ever, quite ready, but I'm also going through a rebrand. My boyfriend's helping rebrand everything. He thought it needed a facelift, and I'm like, okay. So
Okay,
we're yeah.
2024,
So we're doing
springtime.
all of that, which I agree. It's a little bit more of a mature look. So that's what I'm working on currently. And as far as projects, I mean, this is a big project, but something that I want to start is I do want to start Hotline back up, meaning my
Yeah.
my live stream. I'm still working out the details of it, like live stream versus podcast. I think a huge element that made it fun and successful was having guests be able to call in or ask their questions real time.
It's like on brand,
Yeah,
the
I
hotline
know, it's
ring.
a hotline. I know, you got to. I feel
Happening.
like the live is just such a huge component of it. So, so that's coming back this year for sure. And then I also really, really, well, when I launch my program and launch
Mhm.
Hotline, I want to do a speed dating event.
I was just about to ask you, are we gonna see you in real life events? Because you do a really great job moderating.
Thank
Like,
you. I
yeah, you
appreciate
did a
that.
really great job with the guests and stuff like that, so
Yeah,
mm.
I think we will bring back the in-person events, and speed dating I think is going to be really fun. I want to do it differently though. I
Mhm.
I don't want to just leave people hanging, with like just having like forcing them to communicate with each other. I want to teach them a communication skill at the beginning
Mm.
and something for them to try to practice when they're with their partners. That way it's not awkward, but it's also educational. Everyone's trying, everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of one, like something super simple, but a lot of people don't know how to do is open-ended questions.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Who, what, where, when, how. Okay. And know why. Why can sound judgmental. But anyway,
Mhm.
a lot of times we don't even do that. So it's like in dating, especially, I mean, in any relationship, but in dating, it's so important to ask your partner open-ended questions because you want to get to know them and you want them to be free to say whatever is going to come out of their mouth versus just yes or no. And also, yes or no questions lead to awkward silences, which also no one likes. So open-ended questions are a great way to connect, to get someone to open up, and to leave out awkward silences. So
Oh, I love that. I would even say, you should have Hotline Fab, conversation card starters.
yes,
Okay?
absolutely. Yeah, I love that.
Yes. Well, thank you so, so much. I do have one last question before we end, and that's, do you practice what you preach and what you advise online? It's kinda like asking a therapist, do you go to therapy too?
Yeah, I mean, I do go to therapy and I do have a coach, and
You have a coach as well?
I do have a coach.
Oh,
Yeah, I do
wow.
have a
Okay.
coach. It's mostly for business stuff, but I
Mhm.
do talk to, I mean, she's also someone who's very close to me, so I do talk to her sometimes about my relationship, because she's also married and now she's pregnant with her second kid, so I feel like she's had a little bit more life experience and is in the
Mhm.
direction I wanna go, so it's just so great to have her. But I do practice what I preach, and not to say that I always get it right.
Mhm.
There are times when, let's say, I'm in a fight with my boyfriend, and I know, I know that getting up and walking out of the room is going to make it worse. But
Right, yeah. We've all been
do it
there.
anyway. So I it's like I'm human. I also try to just acknowledge that. And sometimes I even try to be bad just to remind myself I'm human and I'm not a robot. Like, even though I know the right thing to say, I sometimes will just say it not as good, so it sounds more authentic. I don't know how to explain that,
You're
but
like, let me be a little saucy today.
yeah. Because okay, like for instance, the way to set boundaries is using I statements, and the proper way to use I statements is something like, "Hey, babe, I feel overwhelmed, and I feel sometimes anxious when I come home and there's just a sink full of dishes. Like I do the dishes every week, but sometimes it just feels so overwhelming. Okay. I would feel really loved and really respected and really valued if on those days when I just don't do the dishes, if you could just hop in and do them. What do you think?
Yeah.
Or what do you think
And
about
leave it up to him to be like, okay, right, let me help
yeah,
you, support you.
yes, or compromise, right? He can be like,
Mhm.
babe, I don't really love doing the dishes, but I totally hear you. What if on those days you can let me know it's one of those days and I can make a bath for you? How, like, what do you think of that? Right. So it still gives the opportunity to compromise. But what I'm trying to say is, even though that's the proper way to say it, if you keep saying it, sometimes you sound like a robot.
Right.
So I'll say things like, I'll just like say, oh, I would feel really loved if you could just help me up with the dishes. I'll try to not say the whole thing, or I'll try to, like, I don't know, just say the important parts. Because anyway, when you're a coach, you say this all the time, just
No, yeah,
over
like,
and over again.
I'm telling you, communication, as easy as it sounds, it's still hard.
Yeah.
Whether it's in friendship, with your family, with your partner and your loved ones. So, give yourself grace, take time, because it is a lifelong process. Like,
Yeah.
I barely got to this point. So I'm like, okay, I'm giving myself 5 more. Imagine where I will be in 5 years. Like,
Oh, yeah.
amazing communicator. So I'm gonna give myself some time.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming and being a guest on our episode 80, the Honest Dating and Relationship Advice episode. Let us know where we could find you, where we can connect with you, and things like that.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and on TikTok, and my handle for both is just at Hotline Fab. And you can also find me on my website, which is onthehotline.com. And you can, I would say best way to find me is through Instagram, because you can DM me, you can message me, you can email me, you can do everything from there. So that's where I be.
Yes, thank you for connecting with me. This was an episode I've been wanting to do forever. So thank you for being virtually with me. And for those listening, don't forget we have new episodes every Monday, 10 a.m. on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. And also connect with all the dope creators that I've been connecting with, because each one of them has been doing dope stuff. And honestly, I'm gonna put all her information for Hotline Fab in the description of the video as well. But thank you so much, and thank you so much for being a guest. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Carmen.